Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Sarah Fraser, General Manager of CBS Radio Houston.
Well, we are here with our next candidate. With us is Marty McVey. Thank you so much, Marty, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to start out with the first question.
Okay.
Why should Houstonians elect you as Houston's next mayor?
Thank you. You know, I get asked that question a lot, and that's very fair. What I think is on Houston's horizon is we've got a financial crisis that can't be kicked down the road anymore on this issue. We have many multiple layered challenges regarding the city's budget and its financial outlook, and it's no longer is it just the city hall's problem. It's an economy issue for our regional economy. As you know, that this is a regional economy, and we have to take every step necessary to make sure that we're bringing new jobs here, new opportunities, and new revenue into the city. And the city can no longer just sit idly by and let progress just happen to it. It's not by accident any longer, it's by design. And knowing that, I can't sit on the sidelines any longer and know that Houston has a great opportunity ahead of it, or it has a great financial disaster looming. And I think that it's going to take a leader that can say yes a lot, but can also say no. And as a CEO, my background is in business, so I have no problem saying no when it's not in the best interest of the people of this city. And quite frankly, saying yes too much is what got us into our financial position in the first place. So I'm not a politician. I'm not someone that's run over and over again. I have a unique skill set. I've helped companies to recover and turn around in some pretty dire positions around the world. So, you know, I take great pride in that, and I think that Houston is in a turnaround situation right now.
Very good.
There are two major groups that we think are very important in this upcoming election, and those are the millennials and the Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
And how important do you think those two segments are, and what do you want to do to get out that vote?
Well, I think that they are both very important, and that's part of my target audience. Are people that have not been engaged in city elections in the past. In a city of this size with millions of people eligible to vote, we have a voter turnout of less than 200,000. And you know, this question has come up at forums and debates before, and I have made it very clearly known that I believe that the reason why people are not engaged in the political process is that they don't have someone to vote for that they can connect with. And they don't see that there's any importance. No one comes out and asks them to vote and makes them engaged. Other cities, even in the state of Texas, has a voter turnout of 5 times what we have in the city of Houston, and that's just completely unacceptable. So when we don't engage people to vote and say that they matter, then we wind up in a financial crisis that we're in today, because we get elected officials that, quite frankly, are not qualified to handle the tasks at hand.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that CBS Radio and the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce opted for these podcasts, is to try to reach those millennials and others that might not be out at a forum or candidate debate. So thanks for joining us again.
Oh, I'm glad to.
Well, let's talk a little bit about pension, the pension plan, revenue cap, and again, going back to the city's budget, some of your ideas.
Great. Well, the pension that's really what got us downgraded by Moody's just a few weeks ago, and that's not a place that we want to be as a city, being such a business-oriented city. So, you know, as far as the pensions are concerned, other candidates have said, you know, we've got to have local control. We can't balance, you know, our books off the backs of our heroes, and I agree with those things. But the reality is, until we find ourselves in a financial hole here, the first thing we've got to do is stop digging, and we need to bond our way out of the pension crisis. We need to completely fund it, pay it off over time, and don't make the same deal again that we had. I think that instead of renegotiating the current pension systems that we have, we need to negotiate a new one moving forward. That's a deal that has been made by a previous administration. I didn't agree with it then, I don't agree with it now, but it is what we have. and we have to deal with that. So there's ways around that, and I think that the city needs good management, not only just fiscal management, but common sense management that doesn't bow to political pressure, to political favors. And I come into this election without owing any political favors, without owing someone from 10 years ago that they did, something for me. So I think that's what Houston needs. Houston needs new leadership, fresh leadership, someone that understands what this technology is for millennials and podcasting, and reach out to people to get them engaged, because this is too important. Our city's too important. The other issue was pensions and
also the revenue cap.
Revenue cap. I think that the last resort for me, because I'm a conservative businessman, is to raise taxes. I'm not saying that that's the first that should never happen, but I think it's a last resort. I think it's a lazy way to go to that first. City needs more money, we can just raise taxes. I think that's a last resort, and it sets a precedent for future administrations to. You need to find solutions to problems, not just go back to the taxpayer and say we're going to raise your taxes more, because everyone knows that what is happening in the city of Houston is that we're living in a donut, in the center of a donut. Our revenue is outside the city. It's in Sugarland, it's in Pearland, it's in Woodlands, because people say it's less traffic, better roads, better schools, less taxes at some point. So we have to balance that and make sure that we're attracting people into the city proper and businesses into the city proper. So the idea is to get more payers into the system instead of less payers that pay higher rates. So I may need to make the decision at some point to raise the revenue cap, but that's a last resort for me.
Very good.
So Dr. Kleinberg and the Kinder Institute just recently published their latest study on Houston. And for the first time ever, traffic is the #1 issue that people are concerned with here. So our question would be, what are your plans about the infrastructure, specifically the pothole problem?
Certainly. Well, I agree with the report. And the reality is that the city of Houston's traffic is increasing by 6% annually. And that's according to Texas Department of Transportation. People are going to continue to come here. And that's what we want. We want people. We want, a great labor workforce. We want companies to come here. But with that, comes that growth. It must be managed, properly managed. And right now, it's not being properly managed. So as far as congestion is concerned, there's a lot of things that we can do from a management standpoint to alleviate that. I'll give you one. The Port of Houston closes at 7 p.m. That forces trucks to come into the city in rush hour traffic, which creates more traffic in itself. As the Panama Canal expansion comes online and becomes reality, we're going to have more traffic coming into the port. We need to adjust the times on that to try to alleviate some of the pressure. Even giving, cargo trucks discounts to drive on the Grand Parkway to keep them out of the city. If there's no need for them to come into the city, we can divert traffic. So these are management things. We can go back to Bill White days and time traffic lights. We can do traffic studies to see where people are and how to get them from A to B quickly and efficiently. We do need to fix the potholes. There's no question about that. But the reality is of this is that if you've got potholes on the street, then you've got infrastructure problems underneath it. There are pipes that are crumbling. There are, sewer systems that are crumbling. So we need to make sure that we do have Rebuild Houston for the future. I think that the idea of Rebuild Houston is good. I think how the monies were allocated could need some improvement. And I think that 30% of the funds that are collected under Rebuild Houston need to go directly to neighborhoods, because that's where we get, our biggest opportunity to get people back into the city and paying into the system is through better neighborhoods, infrastructure improvements.
So across the country, we've seen law enforcement and communities in conflict. As mayor, if elected, what would you do to maintain harmony among those two entities in the city of Houston and or improve those relationships?
Certainly. Well, you know, I believe, as the son of a former police officer, I know that policing is a science, and it needs to be perfected constantly. It's 20 years ago, community-oriented policing was very different than it is today, and 20 years from now it'll be very different. So policing needs to be reflective of the people that it serves. I believe that, you know, we do need 1,000 new police officers on the street. We're going to have to make some tough decisions to get those police officers in line, or excuse me, on the force. I think we can do some efficiencies to pay for that. I also want to pay for it through economic development. But you know, I like to have 2 police officers in a vehicle. And yes, that's a little bit more expensive, but on the flip side to that, you get better quality policing, because you've got backup with you, you've got a witness, you've got someone that's with you that can help you make better decisions. Because if you look at police officer shootings, there's a high percentage of those are because the officer feared for his life. If there's another person with you, are you more you know, fearful or less fearful? I think that common sense would tell you that you're less fearful because you've got backup with you. So it may curtail police related shootings and other incidents. So and it just makes for a better patrol situation, I think. So it is more expensive, but in the long run it's better policing. And what the city is, the business that the city of Houston is in the service business. So we provide police services, fire services, planning and permitting, and these types of things. So as garbage as well. So, you know, we've got to provide good services for our people.
So the city has experienced an issue, an ordinance that has been very controversial, and that is of HERO. What's your position on that? My position on it is that I completely support it. I will be taking an active role in the ballot initiative for HERO. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions on what it is, and it protects, I think it's 13 or 15 classes of citizens in the city of Houston. And you know, I think that we're too progressive of a city to discriminate against anyone. This is not about bathrooms. This is about, you know, protecting veterans. This is about protecting you know, equality in the city of Houston. We are such an international city, and we rely on business. I see this as an economic detriment, that if we do not have a city where people feel welcome when they come here, we will lose opportunity with businesses to come to the city, because certain employees may fall into, you know, those 13 or 15 classes, and we want to make sure that they feel welcome, as well as visitors, and attracting, you know, people to come to the city for other purposes, for recreation. So I want to live in a city where everyone feels welcome.
Speaking of living in that city, what is your favorite part about living in Houston?
Well, you know, I love to eat, but it's our culture. It's remarkable. You know, I travel around this city a great deal now that I'm, even more so now that I'm running for mayor, and I see things that I haven't seen before every day. It's remarkable to me. I love to be on, you know, parts of the city that I haven't seen. That, you know, we see murals on the side of buildings that are just painted by local artists that did it on their own, and that identifies us. And I want that to be more. I don't want our city to be ruled by developers. I love business, and I love attracting business here, but we need a plan to preserve our culture. And as I said earlier, Houston is made up of a collection of neighborhoods, and I want those neighborhoods to have their own unique identity wherever they are in the city. So I love it. I love to be able to go on the west side into the Chinatown, and then go on the east side and see a completely different culture, and it's remarkable. We have everything that we need right here in this city. I love it.
Well, as we close out our program, we'd like to give every one of the candidates an opportunity to tell our viewers a little bit about themselves, or something that you want to make sure that they take away.
Well, again, I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be here, and this is very important. So I hope you'll have us back in the future, because this city is too important to not address issues. And I've heard, not just in this election cycle, but in other election cycles, that candidates will say, well, we'll deal with it when we get in office, and we'll talk about it when we get in office. This is not the year to do that. We need to come, this is the election cycle of ideas. And everybody needs to put their ideas on the table and let the voters decide, and not have, just the same old again. I think that the people are ready for new ideas. I think that, I am uniquely qualified with my business background. I am the only business candidate. But I've been through some very tough situations where I had to make tough decisions, and I'm okay with that. We can make Houston even better. We have all the tools necessary to make Houston one of the leading economies in this century. We just have to go out and do it. And I want to go to Washington and to Austin and to get every dollar that we need right here in Houston for education, for infrastructure improvements, for mass transit, the things that will make us like any other world-class city. I want to bring that to the city. I think it's time for new leadership.
Very well. Well, on behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and CBS Radio, we thank you for joining us.